It is day 102. Another of Brendan's mid-tier journey of making theoretically weight loss videos or videos on any topic, but not having the time, patience, energy, mood, I don't know, discipline to actually put much effort into them. And yet here I am. And here you are watching me as I imagine you in my mind. My ideal viewer, smoking hot, male, female, both, doesn't matter. Some kind of strange, you know, Dionysian, hermaphroditic prophet. That's what I'm imagining in my head. Or it's like, just like some guy at work, you know, who's like, I found this fat guy on YouTube. He's relatively entertaining every once in a while. What am I going to talk about today? You want to know something funny that popped into my mind that I remembered? When I was drinking a lot, and I mean a lot, like when I say a lot, I mean I don't mean like. Keep in mind when I say when I was drinking a lot, I was like I had like a job, like I was like a normal guy. I was just drinking a lot compared to what's relative to myself. I have a very weird habit. I used to do this thing. As I'm about to tell the story, I'm realizing, like, wait, how are you going to spin this? You can't spin this to look like a even remotely measured person. So I'm a people pleaser. You may not believe that, but when I used to do this thing when I would get really fucked up and take an Uber. The Uber driver 9 times out of 10 was an Arabic guy, probably a Muslim guy. And halfway through the Uber drive, I would always tell the Uber driver I was Muslim, and then I would start to tell them how my mom was Muslim, but she married like an Irish guy, or I would flip the genders of that and like how I was like weaning myself towards the faith again as I got older, and I would end up in a long conversation, and the Uber would be parked right outside the house, and my wife would be calling me over and over because she'd see me in the Uber, and the Uber driver inevitably would always be super engaged in this like weird white guy talking about being Muslim, and I did this constantly. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things that I think about and I don't know why I do it. I'd probably still do it if I got really drunk and took an Uber. It is impulsive. I'm not realizing I'm doing it. I used to do when I was in Korea. There was a guy. God, cannot remember his fucking name, and he was dating this girl that I used to hang around with. No, his friend was dating this girl I used to hang out with, and he was like a guy. He was one of these guys you'll meet if you ever travel the world, who's like technically an Arabic Muslim guy, but he's like relatively handsome, and so women showed interest in him. And then, like as he's far away from home, the like any Islamic code was instantly stripped away, and he was like a guy, drinking, hanging out, partying, but always with that backbone of being, Muslim, using it when he needed it, applying it to reality when it fit him, which is what people do with religion in general. It's not strictly a Muslim thing. It just so happens to be that Muslims have more rigid codes. Um, and he was a bad dude. I could tell he was a bad guy. I know when someone's a bad or a good guy very quickly. He was a bad dude in the sense I could tell he was a liar. I could tell I couldn't trust him. I could tell he was manipulative. I could just tell. When we were all out drinking, I could tell. I could get a read on someone in, I don't know, 15 minutes. I can tell most things about a person. And one night we got super drunk, and I did this to him. I just was like, yeah, I'm Muslim. I don't remember why I did it. And we spoke for like 4 hours, and I was hammered drunk. You got to keep in mind, I was not like, I wasn't like, I was, back then in the Korea days when we went out drinking every night. I'm talking about over the course of 12 hours. I'm talking about 20 beers, 3, 4, 5 bottles of soju, shots. That sounds insane, I'm sure, to you. It sounds absurd, but it was a totally normal night for us, And just in case you were wondering if there were like repercussions, every morning my hands would shake. I couldn't use chopsticks. You had to drink every day, most of the day, to drink that way. It's less impressive when you realize that, right? Your body, its capacity to convert ethanol and like use the like appropriate enzymes rapidly improves. And then also I'm Irish on top of it. Um, and so I was, as drunk as you could be without throwing up or being asleep, which for me is pretty drunk. And I did this to him too. I did this whole pitch to him, and then the next day, I met up with the girl. She was like a novelty at like a Korean restaurant. A novelty, like, so in Korean, a lot of Korean bars, not restaurants, like pubs. There will be girls or guys that are waiters that are also kind of like trained to like cajole and like joke with you and fuck with you. Usually it's not for Westerners, it's a very Korean thing. But she was like a novelty where she was like an intensely Italian woman that knew Korean as well. So she was one of those people, and so she was always coming around the table as part of her job. She was allowed to come to the table. So she would hang out with us that way. It was a way, it was like a loophole. She could hang out with us even when she was working. And she was like, "Did you tell him that you're Muslim? Are you Muslim? Your mom is Muslim?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'm not." I had to like I had to explain like, "No, I just say that when I'm drunk to Muslim people because I need medicine and I'm not on any." Um, yeah, I don't remember why I started telling this. 6 minutes? I don't know. This is probably one of those things I should dive deeper into. I think it makes me laugh to lie and convince people of something outrageous. I think it makes me laugh. I think I'm so malignantly indifferent to most interactions I have that the only way I could survive them is by creating like an extremely entertaining narrative with someone who I know I'll never see again. I think it's just very funny. I think that's it. I live by the authority of making myself laugh. That is my patron. Um, yeah, yeah. I advise you to do the same. Go out tonight. What is it? A Thursday? Take an Uber to the bar, and, meet someone, and then convince them you're like a Cuban refugee. Like I want you in my head. You're a pasty white woman with a black bob cut and green eyes and like a shitty dove tattoo on your right shoulder. That's what you are. And I want you to go to the bar and meet the bartender. And I want you to tell them that you're a Cuban woman. And go, "No, yeah, we just ran away. My father was a professor, but then when tourism opened up, he became a waiter because waiters were getting tipped by Westerners, and the money you would make waiting tables was like significantly more than you could make in the highest profession in Cuba. It's just one of the ways that like the economy works in a country like that with a sort of quasi-communist economy." I want you to do the whole pitch. Now, in order to do this, of course, you need to be capable of embodying the principles, minds, thoughts, and reasoning tactics of a person of that race or religion. That may not be easy to do. It's easy for me to do because I don't know, because I was hit in the head with like an anvil or something when I was 2 years old. So you need to do one you're comfortable with. Cuban's an easy one. I just gave you the whole pitch. Learn 3 words and then add those to flare it in. The result, you don't get anything out of this, by the way. It's strictly the result is the act. The result is the act. The reward is the act itself. Um, should I title this video "Pretending to be Muslim"? No, I'm not gonna do that. Maybe lying to Uber drivers. That could be a better one. Well, I'm gonna go now. That's what I've got for you today. I'm gonna get back to doing what I was doing before, which I can assure you was important and interesting. Thank you again. I will see you tomorrow. And never forget what I've told you today, and also don't hold it against me. Sorry. Sorry. At least I'm not doing crack. Alright? So I lie. Every time I meet a Middle Eastern guy, I tell them I'm Muslim. Why? I don't know. Does it upset my wife and everyone around me and everyone I've ever told this to? Yeah, it upsets them a lot. But, it's the sign of being a maverick. Alright. Good night and good luck.